Hi everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to show you all the books that I hope to get to in April. So if you're unaware, this is usually a pile of possibilities. I usually put too many books on my TBR and I can never get to all of them. For now, I think that I have 11 or 12 books. I think that I can get to 8, not 12. However, I like to have that wiggle room so that I have some options. When I finish one book, I can choose which other I want to start and I don't have just one option because that's what's on my TBR. However, of course, some of these books I will definitely get to because they are part of read-alongs or buddy reads, and of course, those are the books that I will prioritize. Now, in April, I will participate in Realmathon, which is a readathon that's being organized by Covers with Cassidy, and I will link her announcement video in the description box down below. So if you're interested, you can definitely watch that video and know what you need to do to participate as well. I have chosen the realm that gets extra points for Grimdark books, and I do have a couple of them on my TBR, so yes, I'm off to a good start. But without further ado, let's get into the books. And the first one I get here is already Grimdark, so perfect news, and this is set in stone because this is part of a read-along that I'm hosting together with Jose and Steve. And that is Red Country by Joe Abercrombie. So this is the third standalone in the First Law universe. We are slowly but surely making our way through all of the books, and I don't really know what to expect for this one. I didn't like Best Served Cold, I did like the heroes, so this one can go either way. I do know that this is a fantasy western, so that's quite unique and that does make me intrigued, but even if I don't really like it, I always like the live discussions that I have together with Jose and Steve, so I'm quite looking forward to that at the very least. So the live discussion for this is the 24th of April on my channel, so if you want to join, definitely not too late, especially because this is quite a short book. And like I said, I'm quite intrigued because it sounds very unique, fantasy western, even though Joe Abercrombie's fantasy books are very low in the magic, so I think that this will read like a normal western, probably, with some characters that of course we love. Now this other one wasn't a buddy read until I mentioned this on my Discord, and then Amy told me that she wanted to read it together with me, so this will definitely happen in April as well. And that is Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. So this is the first book in a trilogy of his, and I think that this one is called, yes, the Broken Empire trilogy. And a couple of years ago, I read a small sample of this book and I absolutely loved it. So I think that I will definitely like his writing style because this is the first Mark Lawrence book that I am going to read. And I just liked it. York is not a morally grey, he's just a morally black character. And I thought that was quite refreshing because usually grimdark books focus on morally grey characters, but sometimes you just want to follow somebody who's just very despicable. And I think that York, from that small excerpt that I have read, is definitely in that category. So yes, looking forward to this, looking forward to reading more Mark Lawrence any case, because he seems like an author that I will like. I already own 5 books of him, so it's definitely time to give him a decent chance. Next up, I have a couple of new releases. And the first one here is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. Now here it says a novel, and then on Goodreads, if you look this title up, it already has a sequel coming out. So I don't really know, is this going to be a standalone or not? I guess I will just have to read the book and then decide. Now I do know that this is her adult fantasy debut and that one of my favorite authors, Genevieve Gornichek, said that she really liked this book. And this book is also compared to one of her books, The Witch's Heart. So of course I'm going to be quite excited. I do know that a lot of people also said that this had a folklore retellings vibe, which I quite enjoy, so I think that I will really enjoy this book. In this one we follow a bard and he goes back to the island where he was born because a lot of girls are going missing and he might be able to solve that mystery. So I don't really know what to expect from that because I've never really read a fantasy book where we follow a bard, but at the very least that's quite unique. So again, I'm always looking for unique fantasy books, and if this one ties up like a standalone, I will be even happier. Now the next one is one that I started a couple of weeks ago, but then I had other responsibilities, so I had to lay it down for a while, but I thought that it started very promising, so I'm quite excited to pick it back up in April. And that is Scorpica by G.R. McAllister. This is the first one in a series called The Five Queendoms, and in this world we only have queendoms, so of course women are quite important here. And then all of a sudden baby girls stop being born. So of course this will have a major impact both on politics but also economics. It's going to be turmoil. And I think that from what I've heard, there's going to be a lot of political intrigue in this one. So yes, definitely very intriguing, and I do hope that the sequel comes out very soon, or that at the very least it doesn't really end on a cliffhanger. Next up, I have 2 books that I want to talk about that I do not physically own, and if I don't mention them now, I will probably forget mentioning them in the rest of the video, and I will definitely be reading them in April. The first book is Dead House Gates by Steven Erikson. This is the second book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, and I am participating in a read-along that's being hosted by Steve to get through the entire Malazan Book of the Fallen series. We're currently, of course, on book 2. I do think that we have the live discussion the 9th of April over on Steve's channel, so I need to make work of this book because the Malazan books takes quite a bit of time to get through. They're dense reads, and that first one took me a little bit, and I think that the second one is even bigger. Now, I don't really know what to expect because we are following a different set of characters, and if I'm not mistaken, Steve said that it's a different vibe from the first one. But at the very least, I'm intrigued to continue, and I did really like that first one, so I want to make my way through the entire Malazan Book of the Fallen. Now, the other book that I don't physically own yet is Fortuna's Sworn. Now, if you're not aware, me and some other lovely ladies get together once a month to have a 24-hour readathon where we read one book and we try to finish it in one day, or at least read as much as possible, but then we can finish it in the week afterwards. Last month we read Lingus by Mariana Zapata, and this month it was my pick and I picked Fortuna's Sworn, which is the first book in the fantasy romance series, but if I'm not mistaken, this one does wraps up rather nicely as a standalone. It's fantasy romance, that's all I know. I've seen quite some good reviews that says that this is one of the best fantasy romances out there, so I'm quite intrigued. I do think that we are going to read this one in the weekend of the 16th and 17th of April, but it's not really set in stone. And I will link the Discord where we organize all of this in the description box down below, so if you want to know the final date, you can definitely find it there. Next up, I have an audiobook that I'm quite excited to get to, and that is the second book in the Realmathon Chronicles by Robin Hobb. So I listened to the first one this month and I actually enjoyed it so much, a lot more than I was anticipating, because a lot of people say that they don't really like this series in the realm of the Elderlings. However, I think that first one was fine and very enjoyable. It did end very abruptly because Robin Hobb actually wrote the first and the second book, this one, as one book, but it was too big to publish as one, so they were being divided on publication. Now, even knowing that, I was still very surprised by how abruptly that first book ended, so of course I want to continue with this series very soon. Next up, a book that I have been showing in quite a bit of TBRs, and that is of course Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. So if you do not know, I am hosting a read-along for the entire Stormlight Archive, one book every 3 months, and we're at the end of our 3-month period for the first book. So I'm currently around halfway through. The 16th of April we do have a spoiler-filled discussion for this first book, so yes, again, this is one of the books that I will prioritize and that I will definitely finish in the first half of the month. So far I am quite enjoying it. It doesn't really have all-time favorite potential at this point, but I'm quite liking it for what it is, and it's definitely that Sanderson vibe that's just so recognizable at this point. The next 2 books I'm going to very briefly mention because I don't know if I can get to them this month, but I will very much try so, because for both of these are sequels of series that I absolutely love. The first one is Beneath the Twisted Trees by Bradley P. Bolio. This is the 4th book in the Song of the Shattered Sand series. Now, I absolutely love this series. I read book 1 and 2 over a year ago, and then finally I picked up book 3 2 months ago. And at that point, I vowed to never let that much time pass by before I pick up the sequel. So either this month or next month, I will be reading this 4th book. This is a revenge story set in the desert. We have 12 immortal kings. We have gods, we have a lot of lore, and we have one girl, Cheda, who is trying to defeat these 12 kings. So yes, high-paced story with a lot of political intrigue, so you don't want to have too much time pass before you pick up a sequel, because a lot of important information you will not remember, or at least that's the way I am wired somehow. So yes, definitely will try to pick up this one soon. Now, next up I have, of course, Kashiel's Chosen by Jacqueline Carey. This is the 2nd book in the Phaedra trilogy. I read Kashiel's Dart a couple of months ago, and this is now an all-time favorite. So of course I want to finish this series. I want to continue because I know that I will love it. If you are interested in this series, by the way, I did a spoiler-free review for the first book, Kashiel's Dart, that I will link in the description box down below. Just 2 more books to talk about. We're almost at the end here, and the first one is Priest of Bones by Peter McLean. This is the first book in the War for the Rose Throne series. If I'm not mistaken, this is going to be 4 books in total, and the 4th and final book is going to be published later this year. So really the perfect timing to pick up this series, and I am going to host a read-along for this series starting in April, of course. So the first spoiler-filled discussion is already set. That's going to be the 1st of May. This is a very short book. If I'm not mistaken, this is very fast-paced with a lot of action, so it's definitely not too late to join us if you want to. This has been pitched to me as think Peaky Blinders, but with magic. I absolutely love Peaky Blinders, which is a TV show, and I love fantasy, so it definitely sounds like the perfect combination for me. And then the last book. This is not set in stone. I'm very afraid that I will not be able to get to it, but at the same time, it's a very short and fast read, so who knows. That is Sibyl's Secret by Juliette Merlier. So this month I read Wildwood Dancing, which is the first book in this duology. It's a fairy tale. I love fairy tales, I love Juliette Merlier, so of course I want to just finish up this duology. It's only a duology. This is her first YA works that I've read, and I love the first one so much that I just now want to pick up the second one. Even though they feel more fall-like than I anticipated, and I actually wanted to read them to put in my spring recommendations list. It's not a spring book, it's a fall book, at least that first one, but if you pick up the first one and it's only a duology, of course I am going to want to finish that one soon. So if it's not this month, it will be next month. So these are all of the books that I hope to get to in April. It's really an entire pile, and then I don't even own all of them. So it will not be happening, but I do think that I will get to the majority of them because most of them are not that long, to be honest. Please let me know in the description down below if you've read any of these and what your reading plans are for April. Are you joining a readathon? A lot of readathons are happening in April, it seems. Definitely let me know, and if it's not too late and if you are interested, definitely join the Realmathon, because like I said, most of the books that you are going to put on your TBR will probably fit in one of the prompts, so you don't even have to make any adjustments, and it's just nice to be part of the community. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Bye!